the most watched documentary about ancient history in the last decade was not made by an archaeologist. It was made by a journalist with a sociology degree who admitted to being, in his own words, pretty much permanently stoned for 24 years. His Netflix series was greenlit by a division managed by his own son, and when he finally sat down to debate a real archaeologist for 4.5 hours on the most popular podcast on Earth, even his own supporters walked away believing the scientist won. His name is Graham Hancock, and here's the problem. He asks some of the most important questions in modern archaeology. He just keeps giving the wrong answers. Welcome to Beyond the Pillars. Here, we don't chase myths, we chase data. Before the Netflix fame, Hancock was a legitimate journalist. East Africa correspondent for The Economist from 1981 to 1983, reporter for The Times, The Guardian, The Sunday Times. He later acknowledged friendly personal terms with Somali dictator Said Barre and wrote a favorable profile of the regime for The Independent, conceding the trip was facilitated by the government. His 1989 book, Lords of Poverty, was a well-received critique of corruption in the international aid system. Then he pivoted. In 1995, Fingerprints of the Gods laid out a thesis that had defined his career. An advanced civilization existed during the Ice Age, was destroyed by a cosmic impact approximately 12,800 years ago, and its survivors dispersed globally, seeding Egypt, Sumer, and Mesoamerica with knowledge. That is the version he tells on podcasts. In his books, the thesis goes even further. In America Before, published in 2019, Hancock argues this civilization possessed psi capacities that deployed the enhanced and focused power of human consciousness to channel energies and to manipulate matter. He specifically claims granite blocks at the Great Pyramid were raised by priests chanting through acoustic levitation. He describes a civilization communicating with powerful, non-physical beings via ayahuasca. This is the thesis behind the Netflix footage, and this is why the scientific community responded with alarm. But before we dismiss him, we need to examine where the data actually supports him. He was right about the Younger Dryas. Long before mainstream science fully accepted it, Hancock framed the end of the last ice age as a catastrophic event, not a gradual melt. A 2021 review in Earth Science Reviews confirmed geochemical markers consistent with fragmented comet debris across 4 continents at the 12,800 year boundary. Additional comet airburst evidence was published in 2024. He was right about a pre-agricultural complexity. Gobekli Tepe, which we covered in our last episode, demolished the assumption that complex society requires farming. Hancock had been arguing that position for years before the archaeological consensus shifted. He was right about Clovis First. For decades, American archaeology insisted the first humans entered the Americas 13,000 years ago. Canadian archaeologist Jacques Cinq-Mars found evidence of human habitation in the Yukon dating to 24,000 years ago. The Smithsonian documented the reception. It was a brutal experience, something that the Cinq-Mars once likened to the Spanish Inquisition. At conferences, audiences paid little heed to his presentations. Other researchers listened politely, then questioned his competence. Cinq-Mars died in 2021. His career was damaged, and he was right. Hancock correctly identified a real case of scientific suppression, and he was right about the sea. Ice Age sea levels were 120 meters lower. Massive habitable coastlines sit underwater. Underwater archaeology is chronically underfunded. This is a legitimate concern. Younger Dryas, pre-agricultural complexity, Clovis suppression, drowned coastlines, 4 genuine blind spots in mainstream archaeology. 4 correct questions. So, where did the answers fail? In April 2024, Hancock debated Flint Dibble, a professor of archaeology at Cardiff University, on Joe Rogan's podcast. Nearly 4.5 hours, over 5 million YouTube views, Dibble presented a simple, devastating fact. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of excavation sites from Hancock's proposed time period, including underwater Ice Age coastal sites. Every single one shows the same thing: hunter-gatherer stone tools, seeds, food processing equipment, nothing that diverges from a known hunter-gatherer technological profile. Not once, not anywhere on Earth. Then Dibble made the argument Hancock never adequately answered. Destruction is an archaeologist's best friend. When a site is destroyed suddenly from earthquakes, from volcanoes, it actually helps preserve material for us. If there is this kind of global catastrophe, that should make things more preserved and easier for archaeologists to find. Pompeii was destroyed. We found everything. If an advanced civilization was obliterated 12,800 years ago, the debris field should be richer, not emptier. Hancock's flagship proof collapsed next. In 2023, a paper in archaeological prospection claimed that Gunung Padang, an Indonesian site, was a 27,000-year-old pyramid. Hancock celebrated it. In March 2024, the paper was retracted. The radiocarbon dating had just been applied to soil samples not associated with any man-made features. The journal's statement, the interpretation that the site is an ancient pyramid built 9,000 or more years ago, is incorrect. The lead author called the retraction a severe form of censorship. The scientific community called it methodology. Then the physics shifted. In March 2026, a study led by volcanologist Charlotte Green found that the platinum spike in Greenland ice cores, the strongest physical evidence for a cosmic impact, occurred 45 years after the onset of the Younger Dryas cooling and lasted 14 years. That timing is inconsistent with an instantaneous impact. The signal is better explained by sustained fissure eruptions in Iceland, where melting ice reduced pressure on the Earth's crust and activated volcanoes. The trigger may have been geological, not cosmic. Then there's the methodology. Hancock presented the ancient site of Tiwanaku in Bolivia as mysterious and minimally studied. In reality, dozens of papers had been published, major excavations conducted, and the site was radiocarbon dated by 3 independent sample sets to around 1500 BC. Hancock claimed it dated to 17,000 years ago. He omitted existing scholarship to make a well-documented site appear enigmatic. As archaeologist Brian Fagan documented, that was not uncertainty, it was omission. And in Fingerprints of the Gods, Hancock described the lost Atlanteans as white and auburn-haired. He dismissed the Maya as semi-civilized with generally unremarkable achievements. These are his words. Whether or not racist intent exists, the framework relies on what scholars have identified as outdated race science applied to diminish indigenous accomplishment. He co-promoted Robert Bauval's Orion correlation theory, claiming the 3 Giza pyramids mirror Orion's belt. In 1999, a BBC Horizon documentary demonstrated the methodology's fatal flaw. Using the same flexible matching technique, they mapped the constellation Leo onto famous New York City landmarks. With enough points and enough latitude, any pattern can be found anywhere. Astronomer Tony Farrell confirmed the Orion alignment misses by more than 5 degrees. The pattern across 3 decades of work is consistent. Cherry-pick the mystery, omit the scholarship, when evidence collapses, retreat to unfalsifiability. The civilization was coastal, so it's underwater. It was organic, so it decomposed. It was pre-literate, so it left no texts. The catastrophe explains the absence of evidence. Every counter-argument is pre-defeated by the hypothesis. His Netflix show, Ancient Apocalypse, drew 24.61 million hours of viewing in the first week. The Society for American Archaeology published a formal open letter to Netflix requesting the show be reclassified as fiction. Season 2, even with Keanu Reeves, drew 8.9 million hours, a 2/3 collapse. Indigenous groups objected to filming at Grand Canyon and Chaco Canyon. A Maltese archaeologist who appeared in Season 1 said her interview had been manipulated. Critics called Season 2 a rehash. The decline was not because people lost interest in the questions, it was because they graduated past the answers. The Younger Dryas was real, pre-agricultural complexity was real, drowned coastlines are real, scientific suppression happened. These questions remain genuine and compelling. What is collapsing is confidence in Hancock's specific framework, not the mystery itself. At the closing of the Rogan debate, Hancock made a statement that may define his legacy more accurately than any book. I could not do any of the work I do without the work that has been done by archaeologists. That admission is the key. The questions he raised were valuable, the answers were always someone else's job. That distinction is where this channel lives. Here at Beyond the Pillars, our mission is to move beyond speculation. Our ultimate goal is to fund AtlantisX, buying a research boat to search the world for the true remains of Atlantis. Building this community is the first step. If you want to be part of this mission, subscribe to the channel and help us build the resources to find the truth. We're just getting started.